Uachtaráin Cumann Class Gael, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the 2016 Allianz Leagues. And can I take this opportunity to welcome everyone tuning in on GAA.ie and also on the RTE Sport website. Great to have you along. And I have to make a special thanks as well to our very special guests. We have the Mayo football manager, the new Mayo football manager, Stephen Rochford, and we have three of the biggest stars in Gaelic football at the moment. We've Owen Cadigan from Cork, from Kerry, Kieran Donaghy, and at the very back there, I see him munching away in a sandwich all the time, Kevin McMenamin of Dublin. Lads, great to have you on board. And this is a media launch for the forthcoming campaign, but we're giving everyone at home or everyone at work, wherever they're tuned in from anywhere around the world, an opportunity to put their questions to our panel here in Croke Park this afternoon. So if you do have a question for any of the lads, if you can get to Twitter and just tweet us your question, who the question is for, and if you can just include the hashtag Allianz Leagues, I'll have them all here on the iPad. We'll be putting the best of those questions to the lads, and Kieran Donaghy is hoping the tougher the better, so he wanted to make that known. Isn't that right, Kieran? So before we talk to the lads, some formalities to get out of the way. And this year, Allianz celebrating 23 years sponsoring the National League competitions, which is phenomenal. 23 years and going. 1993, the first sponsorship agreement. And I'm away over here this afternoon, was wondering, what was the very first press conference like to announce this big news? And knowing the GAA PRO at the time, Danny Lynch, I wonder would he have given permission for all these cameras and live streams to be here? I'm not sure he would, but things have come a long, long way in the leagues, both on the field and off it. Huge gathering here today, so many cameras, and the technology has really taken off, but also on the field as well. The competition now is just at such a serious level, and there's so much at stake in every single game. Now, the man we're going to hear from first of all tells me he's too young to remember the very first launch back in 1993, but he played an instrumental role in the negotiations of a 5-year extension very, very recently. Ladies and gentlemen, will you put your hands together for the president of the GAA, Egon O'Farrell.
Good Darren and Fáilte Rove Galergo, Park and Croquig, all very welcome for what is another special day for us, the launch of the Allianz Leagues in Park and Croquig. The leagues over the years have developed like everything else. They have got to the stage where they're competitive. Every game in hurling and in football does matter. And one of the beautiful things about the Allianz Leagues that we all value and that we all greatly enjoy, every team has a realistic opportunity of winning a trophy here in Park and Croquig. That's one of the fantastic levelers, one of the great things about the Allianz Leagues. Regardless of the league that you're in, you have a realistic chance of being here in Park and Croquig, and that's what all counties aspire to. We're absolutely delighted that Allianz have extended their 5-year connection. I want to wish Sean McGrath, the new Chief Executive of Allianz Leagues, well, recently appointed in his role, and to thank Brendan Murphy, his predecessor, for everything that they have done over the years. Allianz are a very good sponsor to us, 23 years. And could I also mention Donal Bollard? Donal was here at the very first. Darren has mentioned the first press launch. He was here at the very first one, and I think he has been at all of them since. So we wish Donal well also. So good luck to all of the teams. That is the important item for us today. We look forward to many exciting games, and to thank all of our supporters, the many, many people who have an appetite and continue to attend all of our games. We can see that increasingly all of the time, the appetite for people for the Allianz Leagues, and they're attending in increasing numbers, and we're appreciative of that. And finally, to mention that the Division 1 and the Division 2 Allianz football finals will be held here on the 24th of April. And that is also a significant date in Irish history, the date when the rebellion of 1916 broke out in Dublin. And there will be a special commemoration of that event between the two Allianz League finals on the 24th of April. So we look forward to another highly successful Allianz League. And we thank Allianz, and we thank our supporters, and a special thanks to the players who bring so much joy, so much excitement to all of us. We greatly appreciate everybody's role. Gramil Mahagov.
Thanks very much, Egon. Time now to hear from the sponsor. And usually this time of proceedings, we hear from Brendan Murphy, but unfortunately Brendan can't be here today. He's occupied elsewhere. I believe he's partaking in an Operation Transformation Challenge with the rest of the Allianz team, so it's for a very good cause. We wish him luck with that. No better man to lead from the front. But as Aegon said, we have someone else here. In a couple of months' time, Allianz Ireland will have a new CEO, and I'm delighted to say that man is here this afternoon. A Carlow man living in Kildare, so he tells me he's going to have a very close eye on Divisions 4 and Division 3 for the forthcoming season. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Sean McGrath.
Thank you, Darren. Uachtaráin Aegon O'Farrell, Arch Durhol, Pádraig Duffy, our guests Kieran, Kevin, Colm, our Owen and Stephen, and members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Allianz, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all here to the official launch of the 2016 Allianz Football Leagues, and also to introduce myself to you. As said, my name is Sean McGrath, and from April next, I will be the new CEO of Allianz in Ireland. I hail from Carlow, as was mentioned, and I know it's unusual to have a Carlow man making a speech in Croke Park, but I hope I'm not the last one. And I now live in Kildare, as has been mentioned. I have a young fella who's a bona fide lily white now, so I have two teams to follow. And I look forward with great excitement to the leagues, and that one of those two teams can win at least one of the 4 divisions over the next number of years, I hope. I guess that sort of marks me down as a bit of an optimist, or to borrow a phrase from the great Mícheál Ó Muircheartaigh, because neither one is a GAA stronghold, so at least not at the moment anyway. On a personal level, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge my colleague and the current CEO of Allianz, Brendan Murphy. Brendan has presided over these league launches for the last 14 years. That's no mean feat in today's world. And I think you would all join me in wishing Brendan all the best with his upcoming retirement. Allianz's commitment to the Gaelic Games, as I said, has been ongoing in the leagues for 23 years, and that's now extended on out into 2020, and it's something that Allianz is very, very proud of. But back to the business today, and a welcome here I want to extend also to everyone who's joining us around the world on GAA.ie, and to reaffirm what Darren was saying, make your comments known, make your questions known to us, and use that hashtag Allianz Leagues. To me, I think one of the great innovations of recent years in the GAA has been the GAA Go, and it's great that all the games are available again this year on GAA Go. It's something, as a global company, it's something we want to support the GAA on, and bringing the games to a global audience. It's a fantastic product, and it deserves to be recognised around the world. Our support of GAA goes beyond just the leagues as well, right down to the foundations of the organisation. Our support of the Allianz Coming to Munskull means that every year tens of thousands of primary school kids get to experience the joy of Gaelic games and what it has to offer. They get to learn the sort of life skills that you get from playing football, from winning and losing on the pitch, to experiencing and seeing the benefits of teamwork at the face value. They're great lessons for anyone to learn. So we hope that our involvement in GAA, be it all the way through from the leagues right down to the Coming to Munskull, we hope that it adds something to both the players, to the supporters, to the volunteers who run it, and to the media, and that in some small way it enhances the enjoyment for everyone. So before I hand you back to Darren, and we hear from today's guests, I want to say a sincere thank you to you, the media, for your support over those 23 years, and hopefully all the way to 2020. And I want to extend my best wishes to Kevin and to Kieran, to Stephen and to Owen for the upcoming games this weekend, and for their full Allianz League campaign ahead of them, unless, of course, they're playing against Carlow or Kildare. Gorab Maragot.
Thanks very much, Sean. And just to remind all our audience tuned in online, wherever you may be around the world, because we know there are people tuned in from all around the world just from previous occasions like this. If you have any questions for any of our panellists, get on Twitter, put in your question, who it's for, and just put in that hashtag Allianz Leagues, and we'll be reading out the best of those questions to our panel very, very shortly. Let's meet them now, in fact, because we have a good bunch. We've got four of the biggest counties, I suppose, with big aspirations for the forthcoming year, no doubt. First up, we have the new Mayo manager, Stephen Rochard. Up you come, Stephen. Mayo, of course, will be playing Cork this weekend, and from Cork we have Owen Cadigan, fullback supreme. Thanks for being here, Owen. And we have the two old rivals then, all the way from the Kingdom of Kerry, Kieran Donaghy. And he didn't have too far to come. Will you please welcome up from Dublin the attacker himself, Kevin the Blur McMenamin. Welcome along, lads. I was told, I have a tweet in straight away from a young man by the name of Michael Dara, Kevin, and he wants us to tell us about this new nickname that they have for you, the Blur. Can you give us a bit of background to that?
Thanks, Mick. Mick invited us to meet Ice Cube and Kevin Hart the other day, and Kevin Hart came up with that, called me the Blur. I don't know where it came from, but I'll stick with it. So
yeah, I know you're big into your music as well, Kevin. What's the name of the band that you play with again? The Solids, is it?
Solids, yeah.
Did Ice Cube have any advice for you on the music front?
Absolutely not. No. We wouldn't be known for our rap skills in any sense.
Yeah. Kieran, we actually have a lot of questions in regarding the whole Dublin-Kerry rivalry. You're meeting again this weekend, and the one question has come in from Tony, and I'd say we've had about a dozen questions in on this, but are you not sick of meeting Dublin at this stage because they've beaten you so many times in recent years?
Yeah, we don't like the record in the last few years, but it's something that comes and goes over the generations, and I suppose the biggest thing about that rivalry was the genius that came up with the Golden Years video, I think, and we were all forced to watch that, and as soon as we forced to watch it the first time, we just fell in love with it. And the constant thing in that rivalry was the ups and downs between Kerry and Dublin, and we're lucky to be a part of it in recent years now as well. And it's a great rivalry that's gone down the generations, and it's the old country boys versus the townies and the city boys. So it's a rivalry that'll always be there. As when the two of us are finished playing, there'll be new guys in the Kerry and Dublin jersey with God's help fighting it out there, and we'll be above in the stands watching. So it's a great rivalry, and we're very lucky to be part of it. Is
revenge on the menu this coming weekend on Saturday night here in Croke Park?
Yeah, I presume so. I think revenge might be the wrong word for it, but definitely to try and to get a good result and start our league off the way we want to. But definitely nice to beat Dublin and Croke Park, yeah.
Kevin, are you in the reckoning for Saturday night for the Dubs?
No, I'm hoping to do a fitness test before the game, but I'm not looking like I'm going to make it, unfortunately. So I had a bit of a knock in the off season. So maybe the week after I might get down to Castlebarry. Okay. I'll go well.
Okay. Well, we have another big clash on Sunday afternoon. It's Mayo and Cork. Stephen Rocher, the new Mayo football manager. What have the last couple of months been like for you?
Yeah, Darren, quite busy. A lot to get done as the 31st of January rolls around. So, yeah, the last couple of weeks have been busy, as I said, but quite enjoyable, I have to say as well. Great bunch of lads down in Mayo, and they've really bought in, and their energy has been very, very good. Yeah,
we have a question here from John Melvin, and I know you probably know John very well, sports editor with the Connacht Telegraph, and he wants to know, what are your expectations for the Allianz leagues?
Yeah, well, I think as you said yourself in the introduction, there isn't an easy game anywhere there, and going down to Páirc Uí Rinn on this weekend, and Dublin then 6 days after. I think survival will be the first expectation that we're trying to achieve, and take it from there. Each game, it's going to be quite competitive. We've got 4 of them on the road. So look, it's to try and get maybe 2 points out of this weekend or against Dublin, and take it game by game and see how we are going into the last couple of games against Roscommon and Down. Well, you have Cork and we have Owen Cadigan here this afternoon. Owen, a tweet on a similar sort of topic to the one we've just put to Stephen. It's from Kieran McCarthy. He's with the Southern Star, and you too have a new manager, and he's just wondering how things are going with Peadar Healy on board this year.
Yeah, I suppose I would have had dealings with Peadar under Conor Coonan's time. Peadar would have a very good knowledge of the players, what makes them tick and what they need to improve on. he's also brought in a good backroom team who all contribute very differently. And so far, so good. Things have been going well. We're looking forward to this weekend. It's probably very hard to know where you fare going out in your first league game, and there's a lot of work in the gym, a lot of hard slog over in bad conditions, and this is probably the first real test and a real raise in intensity in terms of competition, and we know that we have a big test in Mayo coming down to Cork next week.
Kieran also has another question for you actually. He's just wondering, given what happened last year, do you guys feel under a little bit more extra pressure? Do you have a point to prove this year?
I don't think a point to prove. I think 2015 was a very disappointing end to the year for us. From the players' perspective, we would have felt that we probably need to regain the trust and support of the Cork people. But in saying that, there was a lot of positives to take from it. And going to the new year, the league is probably a learning process more than anything else. Give the chance to blood new guys and to be competitive in all our games we go out and play. And I think if we do that, I think the performance will follow.
Okay, back to Kevin McManaman. This is from Richie's tweeting. Hi Kevin, how is the search for the new full-back going, and who would you like to see wear the number 3 jersey?
Yeah, I suppose it's going to be a new thing. I suppose Rory has been such a mainstay for Dublin for the last few years. So yeah, a number of guys I suppose who can put the hand up there.
Now you would have played against a lot of these guys who are auditioning for this role. Is the competition going to be tough?
Yeah, well, I had a good few run-ins with Rory now in training games over the years. So I'm kind of, part of me's glad to see the back of him. But we had I suppose Mick Fitzsimons I suppose would have had like one of his best seasons last year. Coming off the bench, he had a few great games, particularly against Mayo in the semi-final. But I suppose the likes of Mick Fitz, Jarlath Curley's come in and done well at fullback. Then we've got, I suppose, Owen Culligan, of course, David Byrne, who has been a really strong fullback for us. He's a very sticky marker, and he's a strong, tall guy. So I suppose anyone can step up I suppose. Yeah, anyone can step up to the job, and it's just whoever puts their hands up and makes their own this year. So great opportunity for someone.
Yeah, Mr. Donahue, are you glad to see the back of the Dublin full-back this year?
I'm sure there's a million people up here. I'm sure they're going to find someone that'll come in and do a good job for Dublin.
You've had some great battles, though, with Rory over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a very good full-back. We've had great battles down throughout the years, and I'm sure that a few of the names that were mentioned there will come in and do a good job for Dublin.
Another one for Kieran, and it is coming up just here. I suppose it's actually from a guy called Killian, and I presume he's from the Kingdom, and he's saying, Kieran, did you consider retirement over the winter months? Did that something?
Yeah, it was something that I suppose coming off this field last year after the All Ireland, when you're 32 and you have to weigh things up, the amount that goes into the game now and what you have to do with your life to make sure that you're giving the team and the full commitment to an inter-county setup now is serious, and to do it for the 12th season was something that I would have looked at the start of last year, but as soon as the year finished, I got straight back in the club. We had a lot of big games at the club to finish out, and I played a few months basketball, and then the hunger comes back into you, and the conversations that were maybe had in late September were different to the ones that were happening in early January. So no, I'm glad to be back, but it was something, of course, you have to consider at the end of every season when you get, I suppose, past 30. It's a young man's game now, the stuff that's gone into it. So
but do you feel that you have a point to prove after last year? Does it haunt you in a way the way it ended last year?
Yeah, it was tough, I won't lie. But does it haunt me? No, it doesn't haunt me. I think it's tough for that few months afterwards, but I was happy to see the 1st of January 2016, I put it that way.
Okay. Stephen Rochard, Mike Finnerty, I know you know him well, sports editor with the Mayo News, and he sent a question in to us. What's been the biggest challenge for you since you've been appointed Mayo manager?
The biggest challenge, it's been trying to get players together, and it's been that's probably been genuinely the challenge. With 3 clubs involved in the latter stages of the club championship across junior, intermediate, and senior. Number of injuries. We probably have maybe, I was saying to one, trying to give him a bit of knowledge, about 25, 26 players going to available fit players going to Cork this weekend. So that's been quite a challenge in a short period of time. But at the same time, those 25, 26 will be up for the game, no doubt.
There's a tweet in here from Orla McLaughlin, and she wants to know, what do you think is holding Mayo back on the big match days?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, isn't that the $1 million question that's out there? I don't think it's a lot. The boys have been, very, very consistent over the last number of years. We've got a couple of new voices in the dressing room. Try and bring a fresh approach and take it from there. They're a quite talented group, and we'll be putting everything together to try and make a big push.
Yeah, remember, keep your messages coming into us on Twitter. Allianz Leagues is the hashtag, and Robert Cox has sent in a nice tweet to us. In fact, it's a nice picture of himself and Kieran Donaghy at Leopardstown yesterday, and he wants to know how Johnny Winners yesterday at the racing, Kieran.
Yeah, I was up with my new job with PST Sport doing a kind of we took a table up there for a good cause yesterday, and we had a few winners. There was a few obvious ones, so we tried to double up on them. But yeah, no, it was a good day out and a good day to meet some of the guys that work for us. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, Kevin McMenamin, Louis French wants to know, how are Dublin going to cope with the resources and spending power Longford have at their disposal this season?
Yeah,
were you involved that day?
No, I wasn't.
You're wiping your hands of that one, are you?
I wasn't down there now. So yeah, look, I had a look back at the video, and I suppose they outbattled us that day, and there was they kind of got the goal at the right time. They just kind of gave them that bit of breathing room to control the ball for the last few minutes of the game, and yeah, look, fair play to them. I know it didn't work out with the Meath game, but yeah, no, it was a good win.
Yeah. And what about this year? You're going for 4 in a row. It's unprecedented. As far as I know, Kerry are the only team to ever have done Division 1 titles. Is that a motivation for you guys this year?
Well, I suppose the thing that we spoke about was, we just said we're going to treat it as a new year and just kind of hit the reset button at the start of the year and said, listen, we'll have a go at it again. And the idea with us is to get into that semi-final, finish in the top 4 and just kind of take it from there. So if we can get a few results and get into the semi-final, then we can have our first kind of real peak then in the first half of the year. So that's the plan.
Okay, Owen Callaghan, another question for you, and I'm sure you're tired of answering this question over the years. Matthew sent us a message. Owen, is there any chance we'll see you back hurling in the county again in the future? The roll of the eyes.
Yeah, it's probably a question that's been asked quite a bit. I'd have quite a good relationship with Kieran Kingston. He's a neighbour of mine. Both his sons are involved in Douglas, my own club, and he's someone I'd hold in high regard. I just felt probably last year that I had a reasonably good football year personally. I could see improvement myself and decided to stick with football for the coming season. But in saying that, I've no doubt that Kieran Kingston and his management team will put a very good structure in place. And I know that the players love working with Kieran and the guys, and I hope to see Cork at the latter stages of the year come championship.
Is it a conversation you've had with Pather Healy yet, or you plan to over the next while?
No, look,
it's football. That's
it's football, and that's it for this year.
Okay.
The dual mandate can be difficult. I probably did it for a number of years when I was that bit younger. Probably didn't have as many pains and aches as what I probably do now, but it's certainly demanding, and definitely a young man's game if anyone was going to be doing it.
Is it becoming impossible, do you think, in years to come?
I don't think it's impossible for possibly someone maybe 22, 23. I remember when I was that age, the more games I was getting, the more I was enjoying it. There tends to be a lot more training now when you're focusing on one code for probably a lot little more games. So yeah, I wouldn't rule out the chance of someone doing it again in the future.
Okay, a question here for Stephen Rochard. It's from Tony in Mayo, and this is his feeling, Stephen. He feels that Mayo haven't blooded enough young players in previous league campaigns, and he's wondering, will you be giving opportunity to new faces this spring?
Yeah, as I alluded to in the last question, we've only got 26 players, so we could be blooding quite a lot. Yeah, I would think that we'll probably have 3 or 4 probably on Sunday. That'll be guys that wouldn't have been part of the 2015 panel. But I think that's something that every squad and every manager is trying to give a little bit of fresh impetus into their squad, make guys that have been there previously, not to sit on their laurels, and that bit of freshness and competitiveness. So we'll be no different in that. And if we can unearth a player or two, then great.
And another one here as well. It's from Rigo. He's tweeted in: have you found the transition from club management to county management a big adjustment? How have you found that?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. One of the other challenges that has been obviously the intercounty setup, and I think Owen alluded to it there. It's quite intense between backroom teams, big squads at this time of the year, and trying to pull that all together. I was appointed the first week in December, so the clock has been ticking away, heading towards the Cork fixture. So that transition, I haven't had probably much time to reflect on it, but we're knee deep at this stage, as they say, and we're in there, and I'm enjoying it at this moment in time. And I know it might be a little bit different at 5 o'clock on Sunday, but at this moment in time, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, a question from Sean Deneen. I presume he's a Kerry man. He wants to know, Kieran, how Tommy Walsh is looking this season, and do you expect him to make an impact?
Yeah, we do. Tommy had a few issues with his back last summer, and it probably held him back in that bit. But Tommy will be a big player for Kerry. He's a great guy to have around the dressing room. He's after bringing the experience of the Australian thing with him. He left as an All-Star and a winning All-Ireland full forward. So we expect Tommy to have a good year this year for Kerry, and hopefully he can stay that bit injury free to give himself that kind of fair run at it, to give it, because when you're trying to get into a team now that's as competitive, it's if any knock, any injury, any 2 weeks sitting down watching. And other guys are stepping up, doing the business in the training field, you're all of a sudden you're back down the pecking order. So I think Tommy was quite unlucky with that this year, and just hopefully for him he gets a run at injury free.
Kev McMenamin, a question here from Stephen Finlater he's the sports editor with the Dublin Gazette, and he just wants to know, will the fact that Alan Brogan has retired make it any easier to get into this Dublin attack this season?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tricky one. Yeah, Alan will be missed. His kind of his creativity and his ball winning and his movement is gonna be, like, he's probably one of the, in my opinion, one of the best forwards to ever play with Dublin. So it'd be hard to replace. But yeah, I'll give him my best shot. We've Owen O'Gara kind of back from his cruciate injury.
Is Owen back training?
He's back doing a bit slowly. Yeah,
okay.
So. He'll be. I'm not sure when his exact return date is, but he's progressing very well. The Paul Mannion was back from China and Chicago last year on his travels, so he's another guy who's started All Ireland finals and who's been a big scorer for us. So and I know there's 1 or 2 guys as well making a push as well. Cormac Costello has been kind of knocking on the door, and we've a couple of newer guys coming through as well. So it's. Geez, it doesn't sound great for me when I say it like that.
I'm sure you'll squeeze it there somehow. More Mayo questions. Another question from John Melvin, actually from the Connacht Telegraph. What are you looking from your players during the Allianz League? And that's for you, Stephen.
Well, I'm looking for them to get us enough points that we survive in Division 1. That's the first thing I'm looking for them. It's a bit hard to say that you're looking for any one thing at this moment in time. They've, as I said, they've been very competitive over the last number of years. So we need that to be to the forefront. Need to experimentation and all those other bits for guys to embrace that. And as I'm saying, we've a couple of ideas to take to the board, but I wouldn't want this man beside me taking them down the road with him tonight anyway.
A final question for you, Kieran, before we're going to do just around the seats before we go, but a final question from Joe O'Mahony, and he wants to know, what words of advice would you have for this year's captain, Brian Sheehan?
Possibly, he's on a great run with his club. They had a terrific win in the Kerry County Championship, led by himself, Killian Young, and the old warrior Declan O'Sullivan, playing on one knee, carried them over the line against the Legion, and that was a big win for them. And he's, you know, I think he played 13 out of 14 weeks, or might have played 12 weeks in a row. So I think something that I maybe slightly made a mistake with last year was we lost to Slaughtneil in the All Ireland club, and the following week we were playing the boys in Killarney. So that was obviously a game. You know, it was my first time ever being captain of Kerry, and I didn't want to sit around. And I knew that the competition for places was big, and I knew there was a chance for me to start that game. So I kind of flew back into it, and you know, when you go on that kind of run with the club, you're kind of, you know, it was a bit long. And I remember Declan Sullivan kind of telling me to maybe find a part of the year to take a break, and I didn't really do that because I didn't take it. I think I took a week, but maybe I should have maybe taken a bit more. But it's just this is the fear again, and the worry of a strong squad is that if you take them week or two off, that you know that could jeopardize your chance to play in the championship. So maybe one thing I would say to Brian is maybe look at, you know, giving his body a break.
Take his time out.
Yeah, take his time out after this All Ireland club, and hopefully he wins that. That'd be great for Carsavine and St Mary's, and maybe just take a few weeks from himself, just actually, you know, it doesn't mean he has to stop training. He could maybe do some stuff in one-on-one in a gym with someone, but just actually to get off the field for a while, and that'd probably be the only thing.
Okay, well, good sound advice. Before we let you go, fellas, just around the table, before we let you go, besides from your own team, who do you think is going to be the real danger in 2016? What opposition? What team should we be looking out for? Kevin, yourself, first of all?
I suppose depending on how this weekend goes, well, it's hard to look past, I suppose, Kerry and
You're going to be talking up the opposition anyway this weekend, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I learned that trick from the lads down in Kerry on myself, so I'm going to go with that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Star?
Dublin.
In a word. Owen Cadigan.
Mayo.
Mayo. It's getting a bit predictable now, isn't it?
Cork, Kerry and Dublin.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Kevin, Kieran, Owen and to Stephen, and we wish them all the very best for their campaigns in the 2016 Allianz Leagues. Finally, a thank you to everyone watching at home, and if you're in work as well, now you can go back to do work. Stop pretending that you are actually doing a bit. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for all the questions that have come in on Twitter. We really appreciate it. If you want more information on the Allianz Leagues, you can tune in to ga.ie. But until next time, it's bye for now. Thank you.